Please listen carefully.
I'm super excited to be here. Like they said, my name is Sarah Obenauer. My husband and I actually were living in Blacksburg, Roanoke area for the past 7 years and just recently moved to Chattanooga, Tennessee. So we're really excited to be back and excited to be part of this community and come to CityWorks Expo today. So today I really want to talk a little bit about design, and not necessarily how design sells products or how it creates experiences or all those wonderful, powerful things that design does. I want to really talk about that human element of design and how we can use design in our communities to support them and to grow them. So when I graduated from Virginia Tech in 2012, I started working actually with a nonprofit organization right here in Roanoke called Yovoso. And Yovoso is a fantastic organization, if any of you all have heard of it. It's a traffic safety organization focused on teens specifically, ones that are just learning how to drive and that have been driving for a couple of years, and really getting those numbers down of fatalities on the road with the goal of hitting zero, of course. And when I started there, I had a great group of people I was working with. We were a small staff of about 3. We had a lot of great volunteers that you can see up here as well. But it was hard to kind of get things through. So when I first started, I was in charge of doing all the campaigns and the programming that went out to all the schools in Virginia. And when I sat down and I really dug in and I looked at the design work and the marketing work, it was very intentional, but I knew that we needed a refresh to really get to the young audience, that they weren't going to be participating in our campaigns, that they weren't going to be engaged and involved if we didn't think about that a little bit differently. So I decided, with no background knowledge of the software to use or any training in graphic design, that I was going to start learning the ins and outs of that. And it was a struggle, but it was exciting, and I had lots of support. And at that time, I was able to see the impact of good design, truly, that we were able to get more engagement from students and from schools, that we were able to get more grant funding, some awards, and the students were just more excited to participate. And as part of that, of course, I saw the difficulties that we faced. We didn't have the grant funding to do it, so it was hard to find the time or to hire a staff member, and that wasn't something that was unique to us. That's something that nonprofits and community organizations face across the board. So at some point, a couple years later, I was transitioning to a marketing and design role at a technology company locally. And I decided I wanted to talk to some of my peers about these issues. How do we connect the community with this wonderful, thriving, creative technology space that we're in and all these brilliant people that live in this area? And by having those conversations, I learned that they wanted to be part of that as well, that they love being able to participate in a food drive or do a marathon for a cause, but they wanted to use these special skills that they had, like development and design and videography and photography and all these wonderful things that they've been training for and learning their whole lives, to benefit their community directly. And so we sat down with a couple people and decided we were going to plan some kind of an event. And that is how Make a Mark was born. So Make a Mark is a 12-hour design, development, creativity marathon that has blossomed and evolved over the years, where we focus on creating really meaningful work and projects for nonprofit organizations that apply. So a nonprofit might apply with a project like a website or a video, printed materials, anything in that space, any kind of visual story, so not just graphic design necessarily. And we'll pair them with teams of makers. So any volunteers in the community, marketers, developers, other creatives, graphic designers that want to be part of it. And we build teams around those people, and they have 12 hours on one day to work on a project, which is really incredible and I'm sure really overwhelming. And I don't eat that day, so I'm sure that everybody else is fully on edge. But it's a fantastic day, it's so much fun, and we get to really see how it's grown and changed over the years, and I'll talk a little bit about that. So at our inaugural Make a Mark, this was actually the second one, but at our inaugural Make a Mark, we actually brought on a really cool organization that's local to Blacksburg, and you might have heard of them. It's called Micahs Caring Initiative. Probably one of the more popular programs is Micahs Backpack. It's a weekend backpack program for students in the area. And then they have a few others, a community kitchen, a soup kitchen, clothing donation program, and then a mobile program for the backpack program. And they're a really incredible organization. They do a lot of good work. People know about them, but they didn't understand all these different services that were offered. So they didn't know that it was the same. As you can see, it's all over the map, really. And so they didn't know the services that they could receive as recipients in the community, or how to donate and provide funding to such a wonderful cause. So Jenny, the former director of Micahs, actually applied with this project. And she wanted a brand for Micahs Caring Initiative, which is that umbrella program. And she wanted to incorporate all these different, the heart and soul of the organization into this. And she was a little leery at first of doing a whole rebrand. But we paired her with a great team of makers, with 3 makers, and they actually created this beautiful rebrand for the organization. So you have this overarching program, and then 5 logos for each of the individual programs in a 12-hour day. And they really spent the time to get to know the organization, what was special about it, what was the heart and soul and the purpose of what they do, and plugged it in and created this, all going back to this beautiful tree of life and growth and what they were really trying to accomplish with the organization. And so Jenny then was able to take that rebranding. They were able to apply for an Adobe grant. They got the Adobe grant and have been implementing design and bringing in design interns and really embracing technology ever since the event, which has been obviously incredible to see. Now, over the past several years, we've grown. So that event I just mentioned was our first one in 2015 here in Blacksburg, Roanoke-Blacksburg area. And we helped 12 nonprofits, kind of covering the spectrum from all the way from Blacksburg and up to Botetourt. And it really has grown a ton. We've continued to help serve more, and we've done about 60 unique projects since then, creating marketing materials that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars and bringing in really talented professionals and students and amateurs and learners and just everyone across the board that's creative in that way and wants to serve the community. And we're actually now expanding to 5 different cities. So we're continuing to do the event here. We just finished one in Chattanooga a couple weeks ago, and we'll also be doing one in Asheville, in Baltimore, and then in New York City in the coming months. So we're excited to see how those communities kind of form their own event. I think the biggest thing, and it's been discussed and it's the reason why we're all here, is the community that's built with this. So it's not just about the materials that are created, it's about the bonds that are formed between these people. So they come in as a team of makers, not knowing what to expect, not understanding the nonprofit necessarily, and they really get to bond with these individuals that are serving the community. They get to learn what they're doing, how they're making a bigger impact than probably that ever realized. And they bring forward these questions. So the makers are obviously providing their skill. They're showing these opportunities to the nonprofits that they might not understand exists. But beyond that, the nonprofits are shedding a light on problems that I didn't even think of when we met them. Like, what do you do if you're diagnosed with a terminal illness and you are homeless? Where do you go? How do you seek any type of comfort or family? And the people of these nonprofits are answering these questions. They're thinking about them when they wake up in the morning, and they're thinking about them when they go to bed at night. So members of the community don't have to constantly worry about these things. And I think that's an important thing to note about these organizations is their heart and their soul. And so I want to talk a little bit about Sherry with Welcome Home of Chattanooga. She was one of the nonprofits that was just helped a couple weeks ago, and she had a video project. And Sherry worked as a social worker and in hospice care in Chattanooga for many, many years. And she always heard from individuals that somebody has a terminal illness and they're stuck sleeping in their car. They can't seek help. And she couldn't do anything about it because her hands were tied with her agency. So she just kept sitting around saying, somebody should do something about this. And one day she said, I'm going to be the person to do something about this. So she got together with some of her friends, and they bought a small house in the city limits in Chattanooga and created an organization called Welcome Home that offers support to anywhere between 5 and 10 individuals that would have been homeless and are suffering from a terminal illness. And she spends her days with them, talking to them, having meals with them, supporting them, and really just making sure that they have a home at this point at the end of their life and that they have the support that they need. So as part of that, they had a great team of makers come out and did a video project. And I'm hoping the video will play, but if it does not, you will see it later.
This is where people come to welcome you home. And we're not talking this home. We're talking about something you've never seen before. We're talking home. That's what this place is about.
Welcome Home started with a dream. I worked for a local hospice for years, and while I was there, we kept meeting people that were dying in very despairing circumstances. We kept saying someone needs to do something about this. We need places for people to go for end of life so they're not dying alone.
Some of these people have come from underneath the bridge or sleeping in their car.
Our main priority are those who are homeless and have been diagnosed with a terminal illness.
We don't get to choose how we die, but if we are able to choose, I think we'd want some loving people around us. You know, in a hospital and a nursing home, there's not much time. Here, we have time because we have volunteers.
And the volunteers make Welcome Home.
God put these people in my life. Makes me feel like I'm wanted.
I haven't felt this safe since I was little bitty.
It makes me feel so loved and cared for.
If you want to give your time, this is the place to do it, because it will be rewarded, even if you're not looking for a reward.
You know, it's a place you just want to come back to see people, but also just to feel loved. You know, I mean, I'm giving love, but I'm also receiving love.
With two of our residents, they became fast friends, and I don't think either one of them have had that close of a friendship in years because of circumstances beyond their control.
I can go and talk to her, and she won't make fun of me or nothing. And we talk about things that people look at us and say, "What are you in watching, the Animal Channel?"
Dinner's the best time. That's when we all get together, and the energy's really peaceful and calm.
We have so many good cooks, and sometimes they eat with us, which we're glad that they do. I haven't gained much since I've been here, but I sure have eaten a lot.
The dream is to keep this place open and to keep serving people.
The bigger dream is to help make these happen all over the state.
I would love to be able to help other groups replicate Welcome Home.
It's not about death, it's about living. It's about making every day worth it.
This is where I belong. If I can go anywhere, this would be it.
It is an honor to be with someone at this very important time in their life. I'm just very grateful to be in this place.
Please come volunteer here. It's so much fun. Okay, that's it.
So as you can see, it really captures the beauty of that specific organization. And I don't think that's something that could be done if it weren't for the relationship that's built with the makers and with the organizations. And this is just one really easy to see example of the beauty that these people pull out of nonprofits that are doing so much for our community. It's always beautiful to see. So that video always checks me up, I'm sorry. But I think it's important to note that we're working to serve people that solve the toughest problems in our towns and our cities, and they slave over grants and reports and spend so much time fighting for that this is just our small way of saying thank you to them and to helping build this community of design equity for nonprofits to get them to a place where they can compete in this world for funding and to help improve our society in that way. And so to me, Make a Mark has really been an evolution and a way for me to plug my passions with this nonprofit world and the communities that we live in with my skills in design and visual storytelling, and bring those things together to really create this whole new design equity for the humanitarian sector. But I know you all out there have so many passions for the community and so many talents yourselves, so I know you'll come out of this weekend and have wonderful ideas, so I just want to task you with where do you start today? Where do you see a problem, some gap that you can fill? How can you be a bridge? And how can you create this beautiful, thriving community? Thank you.